Hey everybody, back in Findhorn, the Findhorn. This again is about the Helios Fellowship in its broader arc, some of the principles that underpin it. And they're principles and understandings that I've come to over the last 20 years of experience being in and around men's work, facilitating various initiatives, various groups, working with various organizations, leadership groups, etc. And so the intention of the Helios Fellowship is to initiate generative masculinity. And I've spoken about what generativity means in other clips. I haven't yet spoken about what masculinity is. And I think this little clip is going to speak to what initiation means, which I think I've touched on previously but not gone into depth on. And it's not an easy subject to render in language. Because to undergo a generative initiation is a deeply subjective experience that that shifts our not just our rational understanding of what life is, of what the invitation is, but shifts our psychology into a different kind of paradigm of understanding, not just what we understand, but shifts how we understand everything. And to be an initiated human being, that is to be a wide awake, psychologically and emotionally mature human being, not a perfect human being, perhaps not even an enlightened human being. But somebody who knows what the deal is and what their relationship is with this. And I have sat in many circles, around many fires, participated in many different conferences and gatherings of people who speak about, espouse, and would say they practice initiatory rites of passage. The Wilderness Guides Council, for instance. Some of the initiatives in and around Findhorn. Research groups, international research groups, who are speaking about transformation, who are speaking about change. Sorry, I'm watching my feet because it's a bit slippy after the rain. And the language various groups use, I mean, you could include religion in this, religious groups, affiliations, etc. The language used is archetypal and mythological in its tone, and the nature of the invitation speaks to the deepest aspects of what it means to be human. We are relational creatures. We want to belong. And so when somebody speaks and invokes a deep invitation towards belonging, anybody who is seeking that, which really implies anybody that has not had that has experienced some kind of developmental trauma where they didn't feel that they belonged, that they didn't feel that they were seen or valued as a human being, where perhaps they were loved very conditionally. So kind of given the message that you belong here and you are welcome as long as you fulfill somebody else's needs first. And then when you've done that and when you've performed sufficiently, then you might get something. And so there's this very kind of, I want to say shady, but it's not really shady, although it is susceptible to shadow, to regression, very susceptible, is that when we start moving towards an initiatory rite of passage, and we're like, yeah, I want to do that, I want to get involved in that, there will be places within our psyche that do not want that, because they are predicated on survival and have kind of internalized a certain set of rules, values, perspectives, beliefs that primarily want us to be safe, that want us to be okay, that assume that fitting in, which is not the same as belonging, by the way, fitting in is all we need to do, and then we'll be all right. So if we just understand the rules well enough, then surely everything will be fine. Except often it very much isn't. And so on the way toward an initiatory rite of passage, and this is an experience I've had with delegates in the journeyman community, this was a dynamic that had it regress and become a very comfortable, conforming place with no, and I don't want to say this, I really would rather it was different, with no capacity for genuine and authentic depth, where it is predicated along the lines of a performative identity that knows how to fit in, that's learned the language of the group, that understands the rules of the group, what the limits are, and those limits are not quite the same as boundaries, generative boundaries. Those limits are, the red lines, that you can belong here as long as you don't talk about this, or you don't challenge this, or you don't behave in this way or that way, then you can stay. So it creates this, it's kind of a trap. And of course, if we want belonging and we have felt valued by a group or a bunch of people, or felt seen in some way, and we've lacked that, maybe have a profound lack of that. Many people have a profound lack. They do not know they have not been seen as a human being. They think their two-dimensional life is it. and their ideas of success are predicated on that, and often superficial and have no depth or real substance. That is, they haven't created a life or even examined their own thoughts, their own beliefs, their own values about what their life means to them, let alone organized to live it that way. So if we encounter a group of people who are like, yeah, you're really welcome, and speak in archetypal language and kind of press all our buttons and light us up and make us feel welcome, and then as we spend more time with that group and are looking for genuine connection, genuine authentic connection, attunement and resonance with other human beings, we start to find where the cracks are, and we realize that we have not undergone an initiation, however elaborate the rituals may have been, however powerful and colourful they may have been. We understand that actually we've been sold a counterfeit, and we've undergone an indoctrination, or we've been exposed to an indoctrination, and that's not necessarily our fault. The intention to belong is sincere and deep and primal. We are relational creatures for a reason. If we do not belong to some kind of tribe, we die, right? That's hardwired into the human experience. That we survive and thrive in relationship. But when our desire to belong negates or abuses our capacities or our desires for authentic self-expression, then we're in tricky territory. And so an initiation, a generative initiation, is something, a ritual, an experience. I don't think it has to be formal. I do think it has to include nature as the foundation of it, and I don't mean nature just as this landscape, these trees, these plants. I mean nature as the emergent intelligence from which all of this comes. The deep structure of nature, which is the relational field that weaves all this together. Excuse me. The birds, the trees, the river, me, you. An initiation locates us psychologically. I don't mean mentally and just purely rationally. I mean that we are initiated within our not just our rational understanding, but our deep emotional and deeper than that somatic awareness that we are part of this. Not part of the group. We may also be part of the group, the tribe, the clan, etc. But before that, we are part of this. So an initiation has to be rooted in nature for it to be generative. And so it is not merely about belonging, it's about an understanding that we are participating in the emergent expression of nature, and therefore we are also responsible for it. So it locates us, an initiation, a generative initiation locates us in relationship to nature in a way that we're not questioning. We're not showing up every day wondering how we're going to fit in or what we need to do to belong. We know. every cell of our body, we know this is my home, this planet, at that level, this earth. There is no new earth, there is no next world. There is this fucking thing right here, right now, that's awakening through my body as much as the breeze is moving these trees. Then we are located and related to the particular environment that we're in, the particular ecologies that we depend on, the oceans that we live close to, the rivers, the bioregion that we are in. And we understand that bioregion. And through understanding that bioregion, we understand there are other bioregions that are different, but complementary. Then we belong to the tribe. Then we belong to the clan, to the people that we share this bioregion with. And that bioregion shares this planet with other bioregions. So it's relational, all the way down, all the way through. It's not binary, it's deep structure and systemic. And then once we belong to a planet and a place and a people, we also find a purpose. I think that's the first time I've put those 4 P's together, but I like them. Planet, place, people, purpose. What's our unique way of contributing, of participating? There's another P. I think that's enough of the P's. But together, there's one more. I think they're a powerful combination. And to continue the wordplay, it sounds kind of poetic to me. So that's what an initiation is. It's not about excluding anything. It's about including. In a way that actually prevents fundamentalism. That prevents this very narrow, colonialistic mentality. This is our club, that's that club. We don't speak to them. I've just moved back from the Isle of Skye. There are people who live in Portree who won't speak to people in Dunvegan. Like you're on a tiny island in the Hebrides and you won't speak to people who live 20 miles away. And that's been going on for decades and passed down through generations, through families. It's just tragic. That's the opposite of an initiation. First and foremost, to life itself, to the emergent nature of this planet, to a bioregion, to a people, to a purpose that helps you participate. That's an initiation.